Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. This is notice of a regular meeting of the District of the Board of Directors to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas on July 10th, 2024 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business for the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on July 5th, 2024 at 10 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 041-551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. Today, we do have the presence of a quorum. We have Dr. Lalonde, myself, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Starkey, and Mr. Donahue. Joining us, we should have Mr. Blotter. If I may please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the much needed rain that you have provided, and we ask that you watch over and provide for those affected by Hurricane Beryl. Help us make good decisions for the good amount of water district in today's meeting.
Amen.
Thank you. Let's carry on to item 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. Anyone? Staff? Board? Let's move to item 4. Consider and discuss the possible approval of minutes from the regular meeting on June 26, 2024.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Donahue, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Thank you. Motion carries. Item 5, general manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have not had too much rain, even though we had close call with the hurricane, Beryl, and all the rain went up north. But still, we got a little bit of rain and we're still at 19.1. We have been for every week, so hopefully we'll get some more rain that way for the watershed. But as of right now, we're still in stage 3, and we were supposed to work on that drought management plan, but since we were with that hurricanes convergence, and we did move too much in it. We worked on for the following meeting, maybe for that. So call Dr. Rhonda wants to be included in the planning for that. So on that part, I'll just mention that stage 3 is still the same thing. Not moving forward, not down or anything. We won't be that. We have plenty of water in the reservoir. So that's all I have.
Our reservoir is full, right?
Ours here, yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to question. We usually maintain it like from 90 to 100% maybe.
Did they say, did the water, whoever tell us pump any extra that's been?
That was one of my questions for Noe today,
No.
but I don't think they have.
Recently, no, and even with these weather events, they haven't given us any notice.
But we did call them and told them that we should be on top of the list and we're the last one in the river, so we should be getting phone calls and there's more.
There's water in there, pump it.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Carlos. Item 6, Director of Operations report. Well, Robert.
Chairman, I'm the report, the operations report on short order and call out for the month of June. We're 277, the month of May, 343. Most of these were affected on the disconnect customers, on the change of meters and the faulty nodes. On the collection side, the service orders for the month of June were 59 compared to May 81, which is a drop of 22. And most of these were affected in the preventive maintenance and the electrical cause service orders. And the pre-treatment, as far as the, service orders that they were done, most of them were in the removal of, fog from the lift station, but for June, they have 42, service orders, and in May, they have 40. Any questions?
Can you tell us about the two pipe breaks that affected Laguna Vista? There were two lately that just knocked out a lot of people, which was odd.
The one at the
One was off of 100 at the stripes, right?
Yeah, that one, they were having difficulty in setting off the water. They were trying to find the valve that cut off just that stripe. It was actually supposed to be just the stripe to be cut off. But the angle valve that they thought was going to shut it off did not, so they had to go around looking for the valve, and that's what affected the moving forward.
Was that what affected it last weekend? Is that when it was again?
That was a week before weekend.
Yeah,
a week
no, that was a separate, no.
It was smaller.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, what was that one? It affected like Arcos Gardens or something.
The random break.
Random break, yeah. Thanks for fixing that. It was July 4th, actually. That's when it was. Yeah, whoever did that, our thanks to them running out doing it on a holiday. I felt bad for them. Those pipes know when the holidays are.
Towards the AC,
Yeah.
That was the distribution, the distribution personnel that fixed it.
thank you.
Good, yeah. Thanks to them for doing it.
One was on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And the other was
Yeah.
We'll make something special with fighting for those members that were out there, the staff. Yeah, we got that.
Cool. Great.
Nice.
Well then.
That's carried. Item 7, district engineers report, Charles.
All right, the first item we got is the Texas Water Development Board project funding request for the planning acquisition and design of the CMS desalination plant. We did get I guess a project funding request, a draft review, and got the comments back to the Texas Water Development Board, so they did place this on the agenda for July 23rd, 2024. Recommended approval for that $11.10 million to start the planning acquisition design with the Texas Water Development Board. So, it's looking pretty good as far as, I don't know if we want plans to, we plan to have someone attend that meeting on July 23rd. That might be one of the things.
Where's it at?
We did a bit last week. So I thought we could get it, and I guess we'll follow up and decide we can.
I'll go. If you need me, I'll go.
Are you?
But yes, I think you,
need that July
I think
23rd.
you need representation.
I agree. If you're willing to go, I would be grateful.
We have to.
All right, so I'll details. And I don't know if there's any other comments. That's really all I have on that update. They did ask us to accelerate the schedule. So one of the things we did have, just to schedule that's in here.
Who is they? Who's they?
Oh, Texas Water Development Board. During the comments, they asked us to do that schedule by a year. If it was, the reason which degree it is. So we're looking at closing November 13th, 2024. In the planning phase with the engineering failure report, in June 2026. Design phase completion of August 2nd, 2027. And it's starting construction November 2027. With construction completion of November 2029. That's the schedule. Yes.
And that's the one that is increased by a year. That's good.
Oh, yeah, that's the accelerated schedule. To get the water line.
Online by November the 29th or 29th.
Yeah, November 1st, 2029. If we stay on schedule, that's the day where. Didn't see one into the.
No health comments, sorry.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Great.
Right, so I guess that's the update for Texas Water Development Board. And yeah, the next item we have is Long Island Village. The water sewer improvements and we have a financial agreement in place as well. Yeah, you know, we've been able to work pretty well with Southern Trenches to try to, they do have a back for contract that's valid, it's an avenue to be able to proceed with negotiating work and working on our advice that did. And so, you know, when we did receive those bids, I guess we can backtrack, we had that PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, I guess I'll let Signal to give an update on the cost and what we've done to negotiate the price where we're at. And then we'll dive into a little bit more of the weeds here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all's time, and it's been a little while to get here, but it's got pushed, and it's great to be here in Long Island Village. We've got Doc Young, our general manager. We got Barb here. Barb's the president. We got Romeo, and Romeo, you're on the infrastructure committee, you're president of it. Yeah, so great to have everybody here to talk about it. So what we just wanted to do is talk about it. If you recall, let me advance the slide one, please, sir. Back in May 31st, we took it to bid. We only had two bidders. Again, it's a very large project. You had almost paid at 37.5. Southern Trench was at 29 million. We recommended and y'all rejected the bids on the June 12th meeting. Y'all recall right after that too. And so let's go ahead and advance this slide. So one of the things we're looking at, working with the minimum risk coordination according to LMWD is what can we do? My board is another avenue to work and to get the numbers in quote to look at these. So we've been working with Southern Trenchless again as a complete package. One contractor be in charge of the water, the sewer, garden lines, and paving. So they're coordinating the whole effort. So just want to show the cost included in the following: new water lines with exceptions of scallop, new fire hydrants. So the sanitary sewer, you're going from 4 lift stations now to 2 lift stations. One lift station number 1, and the second being more like a master lift station. So it eliminates, like I said, 2 of the lift stations and the maintenance with it. Or it's all the new pumps associated with it. You got your new force mains up to the channel crossing. Placing new sewer lines within the right of way to abandon the existing sewer lines located under the homes. That's a big item right now with the manholes and line work that's under the trailers or under the old trailer locations that now have turned into houses. Utilize existing sewer lines within the right of way by repairing deficiencies. We've got some of the pipe that's okay. We can do just point repairs, what we call it. The yard lines are also within this 18.99 million price, which would be the placement of the sanitary sewer and the water lines from the clean out to them and meter to the homes. And then the paving, the placement of 1.5 inches hot mix at the end of the project. So as this project's going along, about 12 months in or so, the yard lines and the paving are kind of the last things that start happening once the once the lines are installed, once they're televised, once they're approved, then the yard lines can be installed, and then the paving can be done in sections. But again, this would be a one master contract in essence that the contractor would be in charge of. And I know y'all have seen this before, but you really only got like you got a 20-foot of right of way, some areas only 18 foot of pavement. The contractor is going to be required to keep a 10-foot open lane for vehicle access with that 20-foot right. Again, very, very tight job. It's not going to be 300 feet of open cut per day. It's going to be small equipment, minis, and such like that to work the project. So I just want to kind of point that out. It is going to be a tough job. Okay, let me think it's pretty simple. We just threw in a couple of good pictures of why some of the yard lines gets kind of tough. You can see some of the brick pavers and items that get placed in those easements. And so that's why, contractors are going to have a little bit of trouble, but those are those within their yard line contract. Okay. And that's really it. And so, we know it's not an action item today. We just wanted to kind of bring this to y'all's attention and let you know where we stand with this project right at the moment. And I'll turn that back over to Charles in terms of
Yeah, I'll dive into the funding and how we're gonna get this covered. And so.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Right, so there is a, line item where our original construction contract was at, 50,540,000 is how the construction contract was established. And then there was also an additional 1.4 million that was restricted on this Long Island Village Infrastructure Improvement Fund. So basically those were the, basic available funds that we had in place for construction costs. And so, basically, being that we're dealing with a proposal at, 18,997,000. We're looking at a budget increase roughly of, 3.7 million. Is really the increase that we gotta figure out how to cover. And out of that 3.7 million, the 1.4 million infrastructure, improvement fund. I mean, we basically, I'm requesting to have that transferred into our account and start having that, earn some, interest, because the interest has been really good on this project. And so basically, after we look at that amount, we're looking more or less at needing to, get our interest or investment income on the range of $2 million to cover the contract amount. And basically, from October through June this year, 878,000 in interest this year.
So our solution is the interest only for the shortfall?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the shortfall, the earned interest is really what we're projecting to cover the contract amount.
We need a better plan than that.
See,
Well, one thing that we are looking at is a guaranteed investment contract, and that's something that we're trying to get an answer here before taking action on July 24th. Just to confirm that the investments are gonna earn enough interest to cover the contract. And that's basically what we're in progress right now with our financing. It's basically what we're sitting right now, the financing. Because they are taxable bonds, so there's no arbitrage. All of it can be used towards the project, all the earned interest. And we're still trying to nail down that exact answer.
What makes us think that the earned interest is gonna be higher than the rate of inflation on the? I mean, you're telling us it's 19 million. It won't be 19 million. It'll be 22 million usually by the time this is all done, because I've sat up here long enough to know how often we approve overages. So assuming that it's got overages, what makes you think that the rate of the investment earnings will be higher than the overages, which I doubt they will.
So, yeah, I guess we need to have
That,
that analysis.
I just can't see a financial, anybody being like, oh yeah, we'll just approve that. Like the guys who's, whoever's securing those notes are probably not gonna be okay with that, I would have to imagine, like. They need to see the work done, right? And don't the bonds have to get backed up, like, at the end of the day, we can't just halfway do a project or 2/3 of a project and then
Oh,
everything's in limbo.
yeah, well, the micro proposal would put everything in a contract, and I guess the balance of that is provide on the investment that's gonna be, or the interest that's gonna be earned as we draw down the funds for the duration of the project. If we're talking a project that's 510 days of duration, so as that money is still sitting there, that money is still earning, through investments. We do have the financial, I'll follow me on the financing side. Because we're scheduling a meeting with our investment firm to arrange a guaranteed investment contract. And we gotta see the outcome of that aspect, before we recommend action on July 24th. But that's where we're at between now and the 24th. That was the main reason why we gotta see if we're gonna get a guaranteed investment contract in place that covering the proposed contract.
We're so close.
Gentlemen, we are, I just wanted to point out one thing that I'd kind of forgotten and that, the bond council had pointed out, but there are actually 1.4 million in a special contingency fund as part of that 20.8 million. So that 1.4 million is gonna be held till the end of the project.
It's
Till the end of
contingency.
Till the end of the bond payments.
It's
Actually,
contingency.
yes, and that's floating within there too. And, so I just wanted to point that out.
It's tight. It's tight.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is we're going into this as a condition of bringing a no change order condition or being very restricted on change orders, because there isn't a fund set aside for any of that.
I have one question. I mean, I know we've scaled this project down, and are we scaling it down strictly for financial, or are we cutting back on the project and the ability, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, we.
That's my biggest
So,
concern
we-
is
we-
cutting back 2 lift stations. Because they're gonna grow, their growth is gonna grow bigger, not,
Yeah, the lift stations have stayed as originally designed. Basically, the main cutbacks have been, when we televised the lines and they were in relatively good condition. We were proposing to do a pier in place pipe, and rather than doing pier in place pipe, we're doing point repairs, because that's all we can afford with the available funds. So we're still doing point repairs, it's still gonna do the same functional use. We're just not doing the pier in place pipe that gives it a year life, we're just doing point repairs, like on Scala, for example. I mean, that would be one of those.
That would be a major cost savings one, just like Charles mentioned, because the sewer line, when it was televised, like 98% of it was fine, just a few like service connections where they were tapped, maybe was shifted and they needed to be repaired. So instead of tearing up that whole concrete and doing the repaving of it, that's where it's like, hey, that line's fine, leave it in its condition. And just fix that one spot, cut it, come in and cut it, repair it. So those costs are already in that 18.99 that you see, that you saw on the screen there. So it's really not a scale back part. The beauty of from the 4 to the 2 lift stations is the maintenance. I mean, that's always been part of the plan.
correct.
It eliminates the maintenance of 2 lift stations and still has that capacity to be able to, if you do have expansion to the east or towards the old bridge, let me say that, it's available to be into include device it. And so that's why we kind of also looked at reimbursement contract. That happens, the money's come back and can be contributed back to the project to do a reimbursement contract.
So it was. The plan was tear up all the stuff, put in all brand new lines. Now we're saying, oh, we can save money by not doing that, by just doing point repairs at places that we know are not very good at this point, right?
Well.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Great question. So the majority of all of the parks, all of them are brand new, because the majority of it's under the old trailer lots. The Sea Scallop section was the newer section. And it was actually like a subdivision. It actually had the water and sewer running down the street, right, where the older sections had it.
Those are the permanent houses. in the
That's
back.
the permanent ones in the back, yes.
I guess my question is, Charles, I don't want to do anything as a district where we cut corners to bring the cost down. And then it leaves us open with more risk for the next 10 years where we've cut corners and now we're on the hook to fix $5 extra million of work because we made sure we kept the cost down, but now we got a bunch more point repairs that we quite frankly shouldn't have on. That's always been our big thing. Like, look, we want to help finance this however we possibly can, but that doesn't mean that the district should be on the hook for anything in the future.
Yeah, and the specifications
That's
that help bring the prices down is how the manhole was built versus the manhole was built for the prefabricated bench, and now we're gonna do the epoxy and cement tissues that we install in the field. So that lowers the cost, and it was just as a vendor product at the end of the day. And so even the paving, we took a pavement patch out of the original pavement building, and so that's how, and then even sterifying the existing asphalt, reusing it in our base. That's another way we save money. It's in an approach.
Carlos,
So
that is, Scott and I both kind of agree, that is paramount, right? Like, we must make sure however we do it, and they don't want it done improperly for them either, like. Long Island wants it done right the first time, because the last thing we want to do is be having this conversation for the next decade, fixing stuff, so. Whatever way we look to try and make sure it works, it's gotta be. They're like, this project is done, like in Laguna Vista, we don't do point repairs all the time except on July 4th, so. What we don't want is to be doing repairs all the time, so please, you guys, make sure we do it right, for us and for them. I'd much rather go back to the bond and be like, we need $5 million more and do that rather than.
yeah, but again, the water system is the full replacement, everything,
Okay.
yard lines, years. The only part would be the legal section, that's the scallop, we're dropping meters in their existing services, just to save.
You guys know better than me, like, hey, I have no idea I don't need to know the details,
Yeah.
I just need to know the outcome.
There are some great questions that we could dive into it within it and love to talk about it some more, just like the manhole. you know, we want this tight of manhole. We don't want to just have a fiberglass when you just drop it in the cement and have possible saltwater penetration. That's the last thing we want, more water flowing into the lift station plant.
Yeah.
So we expect out to have a complete manhole, but the contractor can get the manholes with the bottoms already done and not, if you imagine, they've got an invert that's already placed in there, but that's like a 3 to 4 month delay. So if we just get the ones at the bottoms completely sealed, that speeds it up and saves a tremendous amount of money right there too. So there's been some really good reviews of that, just the timing of this, because like I said, right now pricing and time, money, it just things are going crazy on the market right now in terms of material and such. But I feel to mention, I've got Bill Euchre and Jake Cussier here with us, and they've been, our engineers have been working with us and on this project diligently, and just like we talk about Scout, that's been televised, and every foot of it been looked at and reviewed to make sure it's just something that can be reused or not, because we did not want to make that recommendation of the good audit until we were sure that that's going to be an option.
Where you showed us those easements with the brick and all that,
Yes,
what's the challenge there? Is that gonna be a problem?
We
with-
gotta excavate. We
You
gotta
know,
cut in.
what I'm saying is, you got people, what's gonna happen there and that costs?
right. You talk to, Romeo's been a great help, I think, here too, in terms of local plumbers that can work it, but, and Doc can talk about this too, the residents know that they've built in the easement.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get picked up and just stacked. Utilities will be run, the lines will be run, reconnect, and then it's up to this particular owner to quickly get up.
And they all know that?
And if materials are compromised, like that's not a part of it. Bricks get broken,
It's built in the,
it's built in the easement.
yes.
It's like the island folks that put pools in the easement.
Do we have, I mean, Brian, do we have something that protects us on that?
Yeah, or easement.
It's the easement.
What
It's
the easement is,
it's
you
federally.
build on the easement,
Yeah.
that's your risk.
The 2 cents I'd like to add to this, and good work to everybody. It's a bullseye that's moving, right, with our current economic climate, so we gotta capture it. And do that in a timely fashion, so find the money, right, because this is a project we're all in this board passionate about seeing through. But when we find the money and we begin, I would encourage us as a district to have boots on the ground that is intimately familiar with the process, has intimate relationships with the contractor. And not just put all that on our engineers' side, like we need to be involved in that. The only thing that's going to mitigate change orders, which will happen in a project of this size, is us. You know, guarding the bottom line and guarding the contract and guarding and protecting the project, not allowing them to go and overspend or make things up, quite frankly. Like if we have boots in the ground, it's hold them to a high level of accountability. If we have an aggressive change order clause built into our contract, which, you know, quite frankly, narrows the window of opportunity for change orders to be even submitted, you know, then it really, I want to put the onus on the contractor. Like, once we get all our preliminary construction work accomplished, the fat and all of this is the contractor. That's where the 15 million plus and counting exists. So let's make sure once, you know, we've negotiated that line, we hold them to that. And it takes a lot of work, and you got to be diligent, and we got to have boots in the ground that's committed to that due diligence in order to see this thing through and guard everyone's bottom line. So that would be my 2 cents, to make sure we don't just say, okay, go. Because then we'll get 3 weeks into this thing and have, you know, our first $100,000 change order submitted. So
Well, and if we're having to have boots on the ground, we gotta make sure that that's in our costs. Right? Like, hey, if Charles is running over there all the time, then Charles isn't working on the desal plant that we need, or, you know, our guys aren't working on other stuff. Like, that's a real cost to us to have to do exactly what you just said.
my recommendation would be you delegating that to someone that reports to you, you know,
Yeah,
bi-weekly.
but that guy has a cost.
Yeah.
And so that has to be in the project.
Representative is in this budget, that we're working with.
Perfect.
But
Good.
we did, add on.
Our project
Well,
representative,
the
our
project
district cost?
representative, well, it's under the engineer's contract, it's basically additional staff, the project representative seems to be with a signal. And that's under the contract.
So how do they interact? with you? Like,
Oh.
how do we ensure that the work's getting done, you know, like, everything Jason just said,
I mean, just my experience in having contracts like this currently, I'm accountable weekly. And weekly, I've got to represent exactly what I've done per the schedule, per the day, per the scope. And there's LDs, I mean, aggressive LDs. And so I would just encourage us to adopt that same mindset. Like, you're a day late, it costs 1% of the contract, 1% of freaking 19 million or 15 million. You know what I'm saying? And so every week, well, you're 2% behind, you're 5% behind, you're 7% behind, like this is going to add up. Change orders, there's a 3-day window. If you don't get them in within 3 days, well, then guess what? That's on you then. So, and then we have a window to sign it, to approve it or disapprove it. I mean, these are all things that are common in this industry. I just want it being said. I think once we do get to a place where we're ready to move forward, we're prepared to, execute this type of oversight in order to hold, the guy getting paid or gal, to the level of accountability that $15 million requires.
There should be a daily report coming in. And, so, you'll be in charge. You'll be in charge of, the daily reports that they provide us. We will review, go on the site, we have, not only you representatives, but we have our staff. They can go out there and approve and say, okay.
Master schedule, critical path, all of those inspection points, all ironed out ahead of time. And every week, we should have a matrix that tells us how close in percentages we are working, being on time.
And the other thing is that we need all that information, as built at the very end, so we can, provide the mapping and everything that
Yeah.
comes in.
That's real
So
important
we need
too.
to work it all together, right, so there should be the daily reports, and then the mapper is going over them and say, okay, this is where we're going, and get the GPS or whatever.
Who's providing the civil, the contractor or us? Who's,
Oh,
who, so you guys are gonna tell us where the as-built are, like we'll know exactly where everything's at as it's laid in?
Contractor will typically provide that back to us, but, we will have an inspector on site every day and do the dailies, then be coming back to the district.
Will you be shooting it at the end of the day, or will they be shooting it to get the, exact location of everything that's buried?
Typically, the contractor does, but if we need to, we'll.
Okay.
We've got our own in-house GPS servers.
I would just negotiate that to make sure, because again, I've been a part of a project where that was assumed. And then it turns out no one knew where it was. And we're talking about major utilities in a brand new community. And it was a crap show.
That's not good. You need to have the maps and everything generated, copies of the electronics and GIS map.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, again, for the record, I'm all for it. Find the money and hold them to a high level of accountability. Because once this thing gets cooking, we've been percolating for a long time. And there's people that's ready to flush a toilet and have it actually flush and run a, tap and have water that come out. And I'm ready to have a tap at every house and new infrastructure that makes sense. We're all ready for that, but make sure it's a win-win. Thanks. That's all I got.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. That conclude? Thank you, Charles. Let's take it to 8. Consider and discuss the possible approval of financial reports for May 2024.
They could be open on Zoom.
Is there $2 million in May that we found anywhere? No. The transition there. Can't get lined over. Eddie fell asleep. I talked too much.
Sorry, I was just trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Sorry. So yes, I'm here available for any questions. I just wanted to point out to the board that all the budget amendments that we approved at the last meeting are reflected in the financial reports for this month.
Questions, comments, anyone?
I acknowledge.
Acknowledged by Mr. Starkey.
knowledge.
Acknowledged by Dr. Lalonde, acknowledged by Ms. Friedman, and acknowledged by Mr. Donahue. Thank you, Eddie. Let's take it to 9.
Thank you.
Consider and review expenditures from June 16, 2024 to June 30th, 2024. Questions, comments about any expenditures? Any in particular? Acknowledges,
I acknowledge.
acknowledged by Dr. Lalonde, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Starkey, and Mr. Donahue. That takes us to item 10, that adjourns this meeting at 6:05 PM.